My name is Harold Nolte. I have been doing Sudoku for many years, and I have over 170 videos on this channel on how to do Sudoku from easy to all the way to expert. In this video I'm going to introduce Sudoku and how to play it. I'm going to tell you the Sudoku rule, and yes, there is only one rule in Sudoku. And you'll find out that there is no math required. You don't have to have math skills to do this. You just use the numbers 1 through 9. And we're going to solve this medium puzzle, which comes from Sudoku To Go, volume 127 by Soap Opera Digest. There are 4 skill levels essentially in Sudoku. Some people break them up into more levels, but essentially you have this is a medium. You have easy, medium, hard, and expert level, and the easy puzzles are quite easy. If someone explained the rule of Sudoku to you and you understood it, it's pretty easy to understand. You could probably solve an easy puzzle pretty easily. And then as you get to harder puzzles, they get harder and harder. And then you'll have to learn new techniques to understand how to solve the puzzles. Now, as I mentioned, I have over 170 videos on this channel, and there's also a website, sudokuprimer.com. It has a video index on it on that website of all the videos on this channel. You can also learn all kinds of things about Sudoku, including techniques and patterns that will help you solve harder puzzles. Now, the rule for Sudoku is you fill in the puzzle, fill in each cell with numbers so that each row, and these are rows, each column, and these are columns, all the way down to here, and each box only has one of each number from 1 to 9. So this row right here can only have one of each number. This column right here can only have one of each number, and this box right here can only have one of each number from 1 to 9. And that's it. That's the only Sudoku rule. Now every puzzle can only have one solution. So there's only one way to solve this puzzle. So let's solve this puzzle, and I'll show you how to do it. First of all, let's look at this row right here, and remember that this row has to have the numbers 1 through 9 in it. We've already got a 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. So the numbers we're missing are 1, 4, 8, and 9. You see, to complete this row. Now, let's look at this cell right here. We have to have a 1, 4, 8, or 9 in it. Now, if you look at this column, we've already got a 1 and a 4 and a 9, so this has to be an 8. And we'll fill that 8 in. Okay. So now we have an 8 in this row, so all we need to find is a 1, a 4, and a 9 in these 3 cells here. Now here's a 4 and a 9 in this box already, so this box can't have any more 4s or 9s in it. So we know that this number has to be a 1 because we're missing 1, 4, and 9 in this row. So we looked at this box in this row to find that 1. Okay. We looked at this row and this column to find that 8. Now these are 4 and 9, and we can't solve them. We don't have enough information. But don't worry about that. We'll just leave those for now, and we'll go to another part of the puzzle and see if we can find other numbers. And eventually we'll have enough information to fill those in. Now here's another way to solve puzzles. You look in this section right here of these 3 boxes, or any section. Okay, and the number 1 in this section here can only appear once in every column. There's a 1 in this column already and a 1 in this column already. This one happens to be in this box. This one happens to be in this box. So this box needs a 1 in it. It can only be in this column here because these 2 columns already have 1s in them. And there's a 1 here already, and there's a 1 here already, so we can see that is a 1 right there. Now I just showed you 2 techniques. One is row completion, and one is solving sections. And you can find those techniques out there on sudokuprimer.com to learn more about them and how to use them. Alright, now let's look at this column right here. Let's see what numbers we have and what numbers we're missing. We've got a 1 and a 2. We're missing a 3, 4, 5, a 6 and a 7 are missing, 8, 9. So 3, 6, and 7 are missing in this column. Okay, if we look at this row where this empty cell right here is missing a 3, 6, or 7, we've got a 3 and a 7 here, so we know that's a 6. Okay, so now we're missing a 3 and a 7 here, and we don't have enough information to find those. But we found that 6. You see how we found that. Alright, now let's look at each number, or a few of the numbers, and we'll go to sections. Like, let's look at 1s right here. We've got a 1 in this row and a 1 in this row, in this section. So we're missing a 1 here or here. So one of these has to be a 1, you see, in that middle row in this section. We've got a 1 here and a 1 here, so one of these has to be a 1. And here's a 1 here and a 1 here and a 1 here already, so this section has all of its 1s already. We can't do anything with these 1s here, but I just wanted to point that out, how you look for numbers in a section. Alright, now let's look at this box right here. We've got a 2 here already in this column, and a 2 in this row. So we know a 2 can't fit here, 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 or here, so we know that is a 2. And with this 2 right here, we've covered this column, this 2 covers this column. So in this middle box, a 2 has to be here or here, and there's a 2 right there, so we know that 2 goes right there. I hope this is starting to make sense to you. As I said, every row, every column, and every box has to have the numbers 1 through 9 in it. And you see we're using deduction and just looking at what numbers are missing in order to find which numbers go in each cell. Alright, now let's look at this section right here. In this section, we've got a 3 right here already in this column. We've got a 3 in this row. So this has to be a 3. Got a 3 here, 3 here already. So that's the only cell a 3 can fit in this first box, in box 1. Alright. Now let's look and see, we've got a 6 here, and that we're looking at this section again. We've got a 6 here, a 6 here. So we know that has to be a 6. You see how we, by deduction, we're finding numbers there. Okay, and now we have a 6 here and a 6 here. So one of these has to be a 6, and there's a 6 there. So the 6 in box 4 goes right there. Alright, we got a 6 here, a 6 there. So one of these has to be a 6, and there's a 6 in that column already. So that's a 6 right there. Now we're only missing 2 numbers in this box. So this would be a good candidate to try and find some numbers. What numbers are we missing? We got a 1, we're missing a 2, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, we're missing a 7, 8, and 9. So this has to be a 2 or 7, and this has to be a 2 or 7. We've got a 2 there already, so we know that's a 7, and therefore that's a 2. Alright, now let's look at, we've got a 7 here already, and a 7 here already in these 2 columns. So we need a 7 here or here, and there's a 7 there, so we know that's a 7. And we've got a 7 here already, and a 7 here already, so we know that's a 7. Alright, and if you remember a while ago, we found 3, 6, and 7 missing in this column, and now we found a 6, so we know these are 3 or 7. And there's a 7 there, so we can put a 3 in there, and a 7 there. Now let's look at column 1 right here. What are we missing there? We have a 1, 2, 3 already. We're missing 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8. 4, 5, and 9 we're missing already, or still. There's a 5 right there, so we know neither of these can be a 5 because we already have a 5 in this box. So that has to be a 5. Now we have a 4 and a 9 here, but we don't have enough information to fill that one in yet. Alright, now we're only missing 3 numbers here. What are those numbers? And let's look at this box. We have 1, 2, 3 already. We're missing a 4. We have 5, 6, 7. We're missing an 8 and a 9. Well, we have a 9 here and a 9 here in this section, so we know that is a 9. And now we're only missing a 4 and an 8. We've got an 8 there. So you can fill a 4 in there and an 8 there. Let's look at this row right here. We have, what numbers are we missing? We're missing 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 3, and 5 are missing. Look, we've got a 1 and a 3 here already in this column, so we know that has to be a 5. And so now we're only missing 1 and 3 there. And we don't have enough information to solve those, so don't worry about them for now. Okay, now let's look at this column right here. What are we missing? 1, 2, 3. We're missing a 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. We're missing a 4 and a 9. Okay. And there's a 4 right there, so we know that's the 9. And the 4 goes right there. if you remember, we had 1 and 3 missing here. We know those are 1 or 3. Each of these is a 1, or one of these is a 1 and one of these is a 3. So we can figure out what these two numbers are. Now I'm getting into a little bit more advanced concepts, but it shouldn't be too hard to follow. Where these are 1 or 3. That's a 1 or a 3, and that's a 1 or a 3. So what are these? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, we've got a 5 right there, so we can fill in those two numbers. There's a 4 there and a 5 there. Now we've only got one number missing here, and that is a 4. Alright, now what are we missing in this box right here? We've got a 1 and a 2 already. Missing 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 and 8 are missing here, and we have a 3 there, so we can fill those in. Alright. And now we've got a 6 and a 6 in this section already in these two boxes, so we know that is a 6. Okay, and now we've got two cells that are empty here, two numbers that are missing, and they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these are 4 or 5 right there. We have a 5 there, so we can solve those two numbers. Now we're only missing one number in this column. Can you see what that number is? Well, it's a 9. Right. And what are we missing here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 5 and 8 are missing here. And we don't have a 5 or an 8 here, so we can't solve those yet. Since we filled in this 4 and 5 here, remember we have a 4 and a 9 missing here, so we can finish those two numbers. And let's look at this column right here. What are we missing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So missing a 2 and a 5 there. Let's see if we can, oh, there's a 5 right there. So we can fill those numbers in. Okay, now row 8 is missing 3, 6, 3 and 6. And we have a 6 there. So you just step by step go through all the rows and the columns and the boxes and just fill in numbers as you go. And this is a medium puzzle. It's a little bit harder than an easy. Okay, remember we had a 1 and a 3 missing there, and we put a 3 right there, so we can fill those 1 and 3 numbers in now. And now let's look at this section here. We've got a 1 here and a 1 here. So one of these has to be a 1, but this row already has a 1. This row has a 1 already. So we know that is the 1 right there. Okay, now this has to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is a 5 or an 8. We have a 5 in that box already, so we know that is an 8. That's a 5, and that's an 8. Now we're missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 and 9 there. We've got an 8 there, so we can fill the 8 and 9 in. And what are we missing here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. 5 and 7. We have a 5 there. Okay, now we've only got 4 more cells to populate to finish this puzzle here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these are, oh yeah, these are the 4 and 9 that we found early right at the beginning of the puzzle. We have a 4 here now, so we can fill those numbers in. Oops, it's a 4, not a 7. Alright, now we're only missing 2 cells, 2, 7, 2 and 7. We have a 2 there, so that's a 7 and that's a 2. And that is it. That is how you solve a Sudoku puzzle. They can get very involved and very complicated, but the fun thing about Sudoku is when you first learn how to do Sudoku, you can grab easy puzzles and you can usually solve them pretty easily right at the beginning. And then as you gain skills and learn techniques, you can start solving harder and harder puzzles. If you really want to see some complicated puzzles, go look for some diabolical or expert puzzles on the video index and watch me solve some of those, and you'll see that it can get pretty involved and pretty complicated. And that's the fun of Sudoku. You solve easy puzzles when you first start learning, and as you learn skills and gain experience, you can move on to harder and harder puzzles. So go to sudokuprimer.com, look at the video index, and find some more videos to watch. Learn about techniques, patterns, and all kinds of other information on sudokuprimer.com. And I hope that helped you understand Sudoku, and I hope you find some interest in it and want to learn more about it. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.